everyone. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time today to join us here on the Partner Theater session. Today we have a special story to tell to you guys. Really looking forward to walking through, what this entails. Go next slide. In regards to agenda in general, we're going to go through some introductions about the speakers on stage. Additionally, talking about our business itself. And from an objective perspective, kind of explaining why we're up here today. What is the story that we're trying to tell to everyone? The kind of agenda that we'll go through here, talking about Elevate, our partner and customer and users here of Stripe. We're going to go through what the collaborative journey means to us. Ultimately, the solution that was defined for the case study that we released very recently. And then talk about what were the implementation and the results that came out of this. So to start off, we're going to do some introductions. Travis, go ahead, take it away.
Travis Hahn, VP of Global IT for Elevate Outdoor Collective.
Danny Lee, ERP Project Manager for Elevate Outdoor Collective.
And then my name is Ryan Lee. I'm with Nova Module, a Stripe partner. We essentially are a Stripe specialized partner, and I've been with the company for about 3 years. So again, thanks everyone for joining us today. I wanted to also give some special acknowledgement to some of our other team members here in the audience with the Nova Module team. Here we have Brendan Tang, our technical project manager in the audience. We also have Ricky Hendron, who is our principal software engineer. Srini Reddy, who is our director of engineering, and Dixon Palati, our integration consultant. All right, and with that said, Danny, Travis, could you tell us a little bit about who you guys are?
Sure. So Elevate Outdoor Collective is a collective of 12 different brands. Across the bottom, you can see a majority of them. K2 being one of them. So for anybody that's a skier or snowboarder, we're been around since 1964 for K2. The next one over is Vocal. They've been around for over 100 years. They've been based in Straubing, Germany. And then our other marker, Dalbello Ride, Atlas, and Tubbs. And we actually do have inline skates too, but we're not going to talk about that one.
Thanks, Travis. And then here to tell you guys a little bit about Nova Module. So Nova Module is a Stripe specialization, payments, and billing partner. We've been in business for about a decade now, a little over 9 years. We've completed over 2,500 implementation projects where our team members here at Nova Module actually were part of those projects. And we have over 3,000 clients worldwide. As a business, we started off historically as a product company, and eventually that led us to actually doing services as well. In terms of our certifications, we're also certified in Oracle NetSuite for the ERP, where we implement NetSuite, the ERP, and we also build apps on the Suite App Marketplace. And then lastly, we're also an elite Celigo partner. For those of you who don't know Celigo, it's an integration platform that connects a lot of endpoints together. And that's kind of the history of our business. So let's get into the content itself. Today, we want to talk about the journey that we went with Elevate on. It really is broken out into 3 key phases. What was the initial challenge that Elevate had? What was the solution that we worked together collaboratively to provide? And ultimately, what was the impact from having that? At a high level, I don't want to take away too much from Travis and Danny's slide, but their business had 12 distinct brands, 24 Stripe accounts, complex business models in direct-to-consumer and B2B. And from the solution side, it wasn't simply Nova Module came in and helped them architect everything, gave them a blueprint. A lot of what we had to do is work with the Stripe partner team, from AEs to solution architects, to really collaboratively build a solution for them to handle their payments across their entire ecosystem. From an impact perspective, we ultimately were trying to give them full transparency into their transactions themselves across all of the different systems that they had. We wanted to automate reconciliation for them on the accounting side, and then ultimately give them also unified reporting. With that said, Travis or Danny, could you guys go over some of the challenges and the details behind those challenges, please?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big challenges that we had was on an ongoing basis. Back office accounting had to do a lot of the payment tie out, to the original Stripe transactions, source transactions, and this is not just for one brand. Like Travis had mentioned, it's across 12 brands, and that's per subsidiary, and that's taking a significant amount of time. We're talking about a good amount of 10 days just for a cash reconciliation. What came into play was with Nova Modules, back office PayPack solution, that really kind of helped drove a lot of the automation through the flows that we developed with the team. So thanks to Nova Module for where we are today.
Yeah, and like said earlier, 12 brands, 12 storefronts on BigCommerce. Shout out to BigCommerce. In regions, each of those D2C plus a wholesale account. So we sell to both D2C and B2B, which put in another layer of difficulty for the back office team, charging taxes, not charging taxes, tax default. So it was a big mess as we started our ERP process 3 years ago, that we wanted to find a partner that we could work with that allowed us to streamline a lot of these things that we were doing.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we'll go into the workshop itself. The solution in terms of how we collaborative came to a solution that worked for Elevate was to have an engagement where different parties and stakeholders had various roles and responsibilities. Danny and Travis, for these workshops, can you tell the audience a little bit about what was your role and responsibility as part of these workshops?
Yeah, I mean, the overall, Brendan's in the audience here from Nova Module. He was essentially assigned as our technical project manager on the project itself. From the get-go, part of the workshop was really just breaking down the amount of scenarios or use cases that we were faced with in terms of trying to get our handle related to payment reconciliation, right? And that's essentially, a lot of those workshops were very integrated, and in order to get to where we are, it wasn't a typical requirements gathering, I would say, but fairly quickly, from an accelerated standpoint, we were able to get your team, Brendan, develop a good set of customized workflows to kind of help drive and understand our use case business.
It's perfect, Travis.
More
Anything else to that?
Our go-to-market's very different. We're seasonal. The way our payment terms, the way that our customers buy stuff. Here, we're going to give you a bunch of skis today, but you don't have to pay us for 8 months. Some rental, it's all different, so it's not like out of the box. We couldn't just put something in from NetSuite to make this work, which is where Nova Module came in and helped us define these workflows.
Great. And then the role of Nova Module was to help really keep the engagement on track. Give a framework and a process and a timeline and roadmap for these guys to easily, work with their teams, different stakeholders from different departments, to make sure that we can be successful at our solution that we pretty much work on together. The outcome of it was a strategic roadmap for implementation. So these guys knew exactly, what was going to be the timeline and the list of action items that had to be completed in order for us to ultimately enable Stripe in their payment systems and whatnot. So we're going to dive a little deeper into why was it a challenge. So to start off, as part of this engagement, we really wanted to understand their customer journey. In every business, there's a product-led workflow, a sales-led workflow, and it can be different depending on who you are as a customer and how you sell. So in order to be successful at providing a solution, it required us to understand what was that customer journey in the first place. For their business, it also really begins from the customer going onto their online systems to add a product to their cart. And what they used here was BigCommerce. Travis, could you give us a little bit of context into how you guys use BigCommerce?
So BigCommerce was chosen before my time at Elevate, but it is connecting our websites to our ERP systems. And then when we went into NetSuite, we wanted to integrate all of those into a single platform globally. So we have other subsidiaries in the world that we're going to be rolling in, and so we wanted one single platform that we could go with. So that's where BigCommerce came into play with the 12 different brands per region, and we're going to have 6 regions when we're done.
And then additionally, once someone makes a purchase on BigCommerce, then they're interacting with Avalara, their tax engine. So all of this data is moving back and forth between the systems, eventually to have Stripe jump in to handle the payment side. Travis and Danny, can you tell us a little bit about how you guys use Stripe?
Yeah, I mean, from an integration perspective, we do auth and capture, and we also do auth, and then we do capture at the time of fulfillment. It's 2 separate business models, and again, Nova Module was actually able to kind of grasp that and break the use cases down fairly quickly into the individual flows. At the end of the day, the PayPack side of things kind of really helped, kind of drove home for us by brand in terms of just integrating, not to get technical here, but the payment ID, associating sales order to all the flow of cash associated with deposits or cancellations or refunds and whatnot. Bring it all together from a reconciliation match and no match perspective.
And the key here from a technical perspective is that Stripe can be integrated into their systems from various endpoints. Right now, what you're seeing is it started from the BigCommerce side. As a business, depending on their department and whose role and responsibility it is to receive money from their customers, they might also have some payments done directly in the Stripe dashboard. So here we're going to go through some of the other integration systems that's connected to their overall architecture. One of the next pieces is NetSuite ERP, where they use a integration platform middleware called Celigo. And from there, Celigo can integrate Stripe and NetSuite to pass data back and forth. So not only is Stripe integrated into BigCommerce, it's also integrated into their NetSuite ERP, which again creates very challenging workflows unless you have a very clear blueprint on how those order of operations should work. And then after all the payments are collected, Stripe also comes in to help with processing refunds and handling reconciliation as well. Travis, can you tell us a little bit more about how the reconciliation and the refund process work for you guys?
Worked or works now?
Works.
Works. So
now.
Before Nova Module came in, we were about 10 days to reconcile payments. We're at like 50% of that now. So it has really streamlined the process on the back end for the accounting department. And if she was here, she would tell you many good things about Nova Module on that side of it.
Okay, so then we'll jump into what were the key payment requirements. Number one, they wanted to capture multiple payments within a single order. So this is where Stripe multi-capture really came into play. Number two, they wanted to authorize at checkout and capture post-fulfillment when the goods actually shipped out. Again, using Stripe's technology and APIs, we were able to build this out with a authorize and capture later. Number three, they wanted to also have an easier way to manage refunds and cancellations. A lot of the workflow and processes were, done in one system for one department and another for, another department. So they really wanted to streamline those workflows ultimately so the data orchestration is, one source of truth essentially. And then one really important one was handling fraud and dispute. Travis, Danny, can you tell us a little bit more about why that was a key requirement and what was the results of that?
believe it or not, there's a lot of fraud happening on skis and snowboards. Specifically, one of our brands, Ride, who's kind of like the counterculture brand, we were getting fraudulent activity daily for thousands and thousands of dollars. So with Stripe's fraud protection that they've implemented, we've been able to reduce that above 90% from what it was prior to go live.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And then number 5, they needed to automate the payout reconciliation process, like they mentioned, able to reduce it from 10 days to 5 days, and also get rid of a lot of those errors. And then lastly, flexible payments, specifically with customer installments. And these were the key systems involved in this architecture. Now, in terms of the workshop itself, how do we go through that process? So workshops can be in person, they can be on Zoom calls, but ultimately it's about collaboration. What we did in the collaboration was essentially have all the right stakeholders on the meeting, and from there bring in specific subject matter experts depending on the topics that we were discussing for that day. Whether it was for accounting, inventory, we would be able to map out the entire flow of all the systems and that architecture. From there, what we would do is identify some of the vulnerable points in their integration workflows where the data needed to move to the proper place for us to ultimately achieve those payment requirements and goals that Elevate was looking for. Another deliverable and asset that we had was what we call the GL Impact Worksheet. It's a bit more on the accounting side, but the reason we wanted to show it is because there's a lot of value to this workflow. And Danny and Travis, can you tell us a little bit about why this was important to your team?
Well, I would say overall, even with integration, functionality, all roads lead back to back office accounting and the flow of money, essentially. So the reconciliation side was a big aspect needed in terms of a requirement from our accounting team, who is basically a big stakeholder in the project. At the end of the day, we essentially reached out to Nova Module and said, look, we can do all the flows that we want, but talk to us from a T account perspective, where debits are and where credits are and how money flows. And that's exactly what Nova Module brought to the table, folks that actually have a great knowledge, not just on the technical side, but also on the GL impact, what it means at the end of the day for the flow of money. So that's kind of what's represented here.
And for these workshops, today on stage you have Danny, who leads the ERP management side, and Travis leading the IT side. There's a lot of other stakeholders from their team that are in finance and accounting that this really matters to them, because with one little change in the implementation roadmap, it can impact their roles and how they operate. So the Nova Module solution, ultimately with the workshop, we were looking to achieve alignment for their technical systems to process for their business workflows. And the way that we essentially figured out in this workshop what needed to be done later on was through specific deliverables, such as a business process workflow diagram like you saw on the screen earlier. We also created a lot of integration requirement documents for anything that was custom. And wherever we can find a pre-built solution or product to fit one of those gaps, we would be able to recommend that as part of the overall solution. In terms of what we propose for development and custom work, on the accounting side, we had to build custom integration flows for depositing payments, refund handling, and dispute management. On the payment processing side, we had to enhance how they would be able to do authorizations and captures at a later date, providing customer installment plans for flexible payments, and ultimately, how can they automatically retry failed payments so account receivable team is not chasing those. And then here we'll go through the timeline. Travis, can you help the audience understand why you started in April of 2024?
Seasonality. We operate when it's not busy, and our busy season is obviously from about September until April, May. So we wanted to start right in April when it slows down in business. Nobody's skiing in the summer, so we wanted to go then.
And that was pretty much perfect timing for us because shortly right after Nova Module engages with them, from there, we actually give a proposal to kick off our implementation in June of 2024. We go through a few months of development and testing, making sure we meet all of the key payment requirements. And then in October, when the season is about to get really busy, we go live. Ultimately, automating everything as much as possible for Elevate so all the different stakeholders are happy. So here we'll go through the last slide of the success story and the key outcomes. Number one, we did successfully streamline payment processing for 12 brands, over 24 Stripe accounts. We integrated all of these different systems across BigCommerce, Stripe, NetSuite, and Celigo. We enabled new ways to pay, specifically with ACH direct debit. We improved their workflow inefficiencies for B2B and direct-to-consumer. We helped to reduce and simplify the fraud prevention by using Stripe Radar and also handling disputes and chargebacks. And then lastly, live in October of 2024. With partnership with Stripe and Elevate, we did release the case study as well on stripe.com, so please go on there if you want to get some more information. And if you do have any questions that you do want to ask, feel free to stop by our booth at 228 for Nova Module. We also have some swag here for anyone who wants to pick up some water bottles. Please go grab some. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.